I was stuck for the longest. You guys know that I've been following for a while. We were stuck, just kind of plateaued for a solid 2, maybe even 2.5 years. And finally, once I started being hyper focused, hyper intentional with specifically sticking to obligations, making the customer stick to their obligations, and being hyper focused with the money. I was already focused with the money, but being hyper focused with the money, and then being hyper focused with my time and energy audits, that is what has really blown our business up in 2025. If you run a home service business like I do, these 3 things can put you out of business faster than a 1-star review from Angry Karen. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community. My name is Griffin Thomas. I own a pest control company specifically in the Dallas, Texas area, Preferred Pest Management. We've been in business for about 5 years now, and on my channel overall, I just document my entire business journey, the good, the bad, the ugly. I dive into my business on this channel. I don't hide anything from you guys. So if you're into getting a bunch of free knowledge and learning from years of mistakes and successes, I took this business from 0 to 6 figures in my first year, and apparently a bunch of you guys liked that video that I did a few years ago, so we just been building on that ever since. And one thing I've noticed over the last few years, specifically in my industry, the pest control industry, are these 3 things that either myself or I've seen other pest control business owners do that can quietly stunt your growth or even kill your business. So if you're serious about your business and taking it to the next level in 2025 and beyond, sit tight. So mistake number 1 is undercharging. So let's be real, most of us when we're first getting started, we undercharge. It is what it is. We think we got to run a special for this, special for that, and early on you do. As a matter of fact, I'm not even totally against working for free to get your first 10 reviews on Google as fast as possible. But the problem is when you've gone 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 2+ years, and you haven't adjusted your pricing at all, guess what? Your cost of business is still rising. Cost to gain customers is rising. Cost of materials is rising. Labor costs continue to rise. So if you don't adjust your prices, your profit margin is going to be shrinking and shrinking and shrinking to the point where there's nothing left. At the end of the day, you cannot outwork bad pricing, guys. So some ways that you can figure out if you're not pricing right, or if you have a pricing issue, is first and foremost, figure out, okay, what is our exact cost per service? Now, obviously, depending on what business you are in the home service sector, you know, this could vary widely. If you're like us in the pest control industry, then obviously it's also going to vary based on the type of service we're providing. Do we need to factor in callbacks, things of that nature? But you can at least get a good ballpark number, and then from here you can figure out whether or not you are actually achieving the profit percentage that you need to survive in business. And let's say you're not meeting that number, or let's take a step back for a second, and let's say you don't even know what that number is. Go ahead, go into ChatGPT or whatever search engine you like to use, and figure out, what should my target percentage in terms of net profit be for my business? What should my target for net margin, gross profit? Figure out the numbers. This is stuff that you have to figure out. I know a lot of you guys got into business for yourself. That way, you know, you get stick it to the man. You know, I don't need to work for anybody. I'll be a one-man show, whatever the case may be. Most of you guys are probably not watching my channel, but if you are and you have that mindset, first we got to get over that, but that's a whole different video. But let's assume you already got over that crazy limiting mindset. From here, once you figure out these numbers, and let's say that that number is obviously not where it needs to be, let's go ahead and start raising those prices, test out your market. And don't, whenever you do this, one thing that I figured out is if I try to either raise prices on people the nice way, or I try to be gentle about it, it tends to backfire. Prime example, whenever I first raised prices about 2.5 years ago, whenever inflation just skyrocketed, I sent out a mass email that I put my heart and soul into. This was like right before ChatGPT came out, and I put my heart and soul into it, letting everybody know how much I appreciate them, helping me get my business off the ground, this and that, how I calculated to an exact T how little I could raise the rate without, you know, without like scaring them off or doing them wrong, things of that nature, just to keep up with inflation. And guess what? There was still a large percentage, not a huge percentage, but a large percentage of people said, I don't care, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel my service. With this go around, when we raised prices this year, within about the last month or two, we didn't send no notification. You know, I realized that most companies are not sending notifications out anymore when it comes to price increases of any kind. So you know what I did? We went in one day and figured out, okay, who has not had rates raised in at least 1 to 2 years or more in some cases, and we started raising rates accordingly. And here we are, like 2 months later, we've only had one person reach out whatsoever, and all he did was ask, you know, well, what's up with the price increase? When I explained it to him, I haven't heard nothing else since, and he's continued to be a customer since then. But like I said, that's assuming you already have some customers. You know, a lot of you guys, I know you're just getting started. You're probably not necessarily looking at raising prices on current customers. You may just need to simply start by raising prices on your new customers customers that are coming in the door. So when you're selling, be confident, like explain that, you know, as a pest control company, for example, we tell people we want to be the last company that you have to call, assuming you stay in our service area, right? So we explain to them, like, we're not going anywhere. We are not going to be bought out remotely anytime soon within the next decade plus. And we provide such a good service, hence our 5-star rating over the lifetime of our business across every platform. And this is why we charge what we charge. And at the end of the day, can we come down on price? Absolutely not, but we can go up on price. We have customers that are willing to pay more for that. So stick to your guns, but at the same time, listen to your market. This is where having a CRM software, keeping track of your leads, your closing rate, all of that good stuff will be your indicator of, okay, obviously when you raise prices, your closing rate is going to drop, but there's a certain percentage where you're like, okay, maybe we've kind of, you know, gone overboard, or we can adjust a little bit. It's like a constant balancing act. You want to find that nice medium where obviously you don't plan on closing 60, 70, 80% of leads, but you also shouldn't be closing 10 or 15 or 20% either. Mistake number 2 is neglecting contract obligations, specifically allowing your customer to get out of their contract obligations. And this one is really simple and straightforward, but deadly at the same time. If you do not set a clear boundary of, you know, this is a contract, we are holding ourselves to it, so we're going to hold you to it, your clients won't respect it, and they won't respect your business either. The biggest example of this is, again, in the pest control industry. I'm going to keep referring back to that because obviously that's the business that I'm in, but think of this for any service that you're in, regardless if it's HVAC, plumbing, whatever the case may be. But in the pest control industry, we have service agreements, service contracts, usually 1 year. I've heard some companies now doing even 2 or 3 years, which is kind of crazy to me, especially in terms of locking the price in. But that's a whole nother aspect to the contract, how it benefits the customer as much as it benefits us. Because one thing that I explain to customers is hey, you know, this is locking your price in for X amount of time, so you don't have to worry about us randomly raising your rate after 3 months, 6 months. Say for some reason you're a bad client for us, we can't just all of a sudden, you know, not do what we're supposed to do, try to raise a rate on you in the middle. Like, it protects you as much as it protects us. Because the most common objection we get in the pest control industry is, oh, I don't want to sign a contract. And cool, if you don't want to sign a contract, that's fine, but let's go ahead and rework this deal. Let's just set you up on a one-time service, and then we'll set you up in the system to reach out to you every 3 months to see, do you want to go ahead and have another service? If not, no big deal. You don't have a contract anyways. We're not necessarily expecting your money or anything like that, but if you're in a contract, we expect you to uphold that contract just as much as you expect us to get rid of your issues and keep pests out of your house. So do not feel bad about holding people to their end of the bargain. Now, don't get me wrong, are there situations where we let people out, you know, they lose a job, they lose a spouse, they move, you know, just something that, like, obviously, like, we're not expecting them to uphold that agreement, of course. But when it comes to people, you know, we all know, you all probably know what type of customers I'm talking about, where, you know, they want to get out of paying a little bit more for the pay as you go, so they act like they want to go ahead and sign up for recurring, and then shocker, 1 to 2 months in, let's go ahead and cancel the service, right? So at the end of the day, it's not mean whatsoever to have your contract in place. That's what you got it for in the first place. It's professional, and it's the way to do business. Mistake number 3, and this might be the most costly of them all, especially as you start growing, kind of like where we're at. You guys know I just hired my first 2 employees over the last month, and things have just been crazy. You probably noticed with the less video frequency uploads as of late. But mistake number 3 is not being intentional with your time and money. Let's be real, in today's world of just everything grabbing for your attention, from social media to random AI bots that can totally waste your time if you jump down too many rabbit holes with them, it's so easy to stay what we like to call busy but unproductive at the same time. And the same goes with your money. If you're not tracking where your time is going as well as where your money is going, then you are probably bleeding out in both areas. So what I suggest first and foremost is audit your time. You guys know lately I've been mentioning the book a lot, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I'll try to remember to leave it in the description box for you guys. I'm not affiliated with him or anything like that whatsoever, but it was an amazing book. One of the first business books actually that I read where I was like, wow, like, I took so much information. It felt like reading a textbook of just business knowledge of how to really build your business from start to finish. But the thing we're focusing on here specifically is what he calls the time audit. And with the time audit, it's pretty straightforward, and believe it or not, even though it sounds pretty easy, it's kind of hard. So you're gonna the easiest way that I found to do it is set a timer for every 15 minutes, and every time that timer goes off, you're gonna record down in a journal, piece of paper, whatever the case may be, what you were doing for that 15 minutes. And anytime you have, say, like a break of any any kind, you stop that time and reset it for any time that you're, effing off, so to speak, regardless if it's checking a phone for a quick text message, regardless if it's hopping on Facebook, YouTube, whatever the case may be. You need to track as much of every single minute of the day for about 2 weeks to audit how much time am I actually spending on productive, needle moving actions in my business versus how much time am I spending just looking at silly cat videos or whatever the case may be. And then it goes a lot deeper because, like, from the time audit, of course, you can then start to actually prioritize. You'll also do what's called an energy audit. Again, if you read the book, there's a lot of good information in there, but just, keep it short and sweet in terms of your calendar. You'll start to realize, certain habits in terms of, okay, this is when I tend to get my most productive creative work done. Maybe I want to schedule a block here for that. Okay, this is when I obviously have to go to customers' homes, so I'll schedule a block for that. I know realistically around lunchtime, I'm going to have a little energy dip and I'm going to F off for about 30 minutes to an hour. Let's put that there. Whatever the case may be. And of course, you're kind of like a budget. You're going to be tweaking this every single day. I have my Google Calendar pulled up over here on a separate screen that's connected to my, my entire desktop setup. And I'm constantly auditing that calendar. Where am I at today? Where am I at? Okay, it's 11:05. Let me see, where are we at right now? Okay, shoot, I'm behind. Or, oh, shoot, I'm actually ahead a little bit. Let me move this up and see if we can create some time. And like we said, the same goes for budgeting. I highly suggest you guys do the profit first system for your business. I did a whole video about that. I'll try to remember to link it at the end of the video or in the description box, something like that. It was a recent video we did where I actually created a spreadsheet for tracking all of our money in one spot. And again, just like with your time, if you're not hyper focused, hyper intentional with where that money is going, you're gonna go out of business. It is what it is. You will be another statistic. And it's up to you to decide at the end of the day, do you want to be a stressed out, what Michael Gerber calls a technician in his book, The E-Myth? Or do you actually want to transition into the business owner with more and more freedom as time goes on? And what's the difference between those two? Hopefully figured it out by now. Hyper focus and hyper intentionality. So to recap on what 3 different things you can do in your business today to make sure not only that you survive, but you actually thrive. Number 1, raise those profits before those profits disappear. Number 2, stand by your contracts like your business depends on it, because at the end of the day, it does. And number 3, get laser focused on your time, energy, and money. Avoiding the 3 mistakes, and like we said, actually acting on the 3 things that I discussed here today aren't just going to save your business, but take it to new levels that you can never imagine. I was stuck for the longest. You guys know that I've been following for a while. We were stuck, just kind of plateaued for a solid 2, maybe even 2.5 years. And finally, once I started being hyper focused, hyper intentional with specifically sticking to obligations, making the customer stick to their obligations, and being hyper focused with the money. I was already focused with the money, but being hyper focused with the money, and then being hyper focused with my time and energy audits, that is what has really blown our business up in 2025. And of course, my amazing team members that I've hired over the last month or so, like I mentioned, we're all in this journey together. We're all learning, and it's been a crazy, fun roller coaster along the way. So I'm interested to hear from you guys. What of these 3 things do you think that you need to work on in your business or even your life the most to just make 2025 and 2026 the best years of your business going forward and taking your business to the next level? Let me know down in the comments below. And like I said, if you didn't see the video I was mentioning here, I'll make sure to put one here, maybe even one here for you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right here while you're at it, and I'll see you in the next video.